All right, continuing with grants. Okay, types of grants. Okay, there are different types of grants we could apply for. First of all, and most of these are very rare, like the first one is very rare, it does exist, but it's what's called a startup or seed money grant. Startup or seed money. In other words, this is to begin a new project or group. There are specific grants out there set up for new groups to help get a start, to get a firm foot in what they're doing. Okay? There's also what we call planning grants. Okay? Again, rare, but they do exist. And this is for doing research and beginning to planning to do a project. So for instance, Ms. Darnell and I actually have a kind of planning grant that we are getting to go to England and Scotland this summer and to find out, essentially going over and planning for the next summer to find places that we think would be good to stay, that are affordable and yet in a safe area, to find out modes of transportation, to talk to people about special tours that might be available if we go to different places like the Globe Theater. You know, can we go on a special tour before a show or whatever the case may be? Okay, there's also what we call management assistance grants. Again, these are all rare, but they exist. Okay? A management assistance grant is designed to help an organization restructure itself, okay? To help a group restructure itself. Maybe we don't have enough money, we've got to find a way to combine different, two positions into one, and that's going to take some special training of personnel and different things like that. So that is something that might fit in here. It's going to help our group function better. It's going to make us more financially secure. It's going to help us reach our community in an easier way. We're going to be more accessible to the community. Those are the kinds of things that we're talking about with restructuring your organization. Okay? It could even be something as simple, hey, we're trying to find a way to actually, we need 2 people in the area of publicity and development. We really need to break it up so we actually have somebody who's just publicity and somebody who's just development. Okay? And we need some help getting that going to advertise for the new job, somebody to come in and help us write job descriptions and how we're going to separate things and train the people. All right. Also very rare but wonderful is what's called a capital grant. You may remember we talked about types of expenses, and in that we had one type of expense was called capital expense. This is for the purchase of more expensive long-term items. So you may get a capital grant to actually help build a space or buy a piece of equipment that's necessary. Okay, down at the Shoals Theater, the different groups that have owned that over the years have actually little by little gotten a few capital grants here and there to fix things and restore things because, of course, you know, it's an historic building. It's a Art Deco house. And so they've been, rather than trying to just remodel and everything, they're trying to restore things. And that's something people like to give capital grants to. They like to give them to historic buildings to update, to improve accessibility, to restore, things like that. All right? Now, most grants are going to fall into this next category, called the project or program grant. Project or program grant. This is support for a very specific project. The funds are very restrictive, okay? And that way it's easier accountability for the foundation and the group. We are using this money specifically to be able to bus in students to see A Christmas Carol, particularly from county schools that might not otherwise have access to theater. Okay? We are using this to create bring in somebody to make a special robotic character for a play called Sally and the Robot. Okay? And when we do that, we're going to have little classes for people to come in and see how the robot was made and programmed and things like that. Okay? So very special project program grants. All right. Also very, very rare, probably the rarest of them all, but the most incredible of them all, is what we call an endowment grant. And this is literally somebody is giving you money to put in the bank, and you may not touch that money, but every year you may use the interest from it for your programming. Okay? Not unlike the scholarships we have. We have a lot of what we call endowed scholarships. Okay? And essentially there is a certain amount of money that is in the bank, and what is given to students every year, the actual scholarship, is the interest on that endowment. Okay? And so as people want to contribute more to the endowment, the interest may go up, or if we have problems with the stock market, you know, the amount of income each year, the interest has gone down. Believe it or not, there used to be a time when we had really, really good return, probably double the amount was able to be given out to students. And then we had the huge crash of the stock market and everything else, and the banking industry, and the housing bubble burst. And the amount the scholarships were worth went way down because the interest rates went down. We didn't lose any money in the endowment. We can't touch that. Okay? But the markets are going to determine how much interest we can get off of that money. Okay? And that is what we can use. All right. And another type grant, but actually it is a type grant that could apply to many different other grants here. It is just a component, is that sometimes, most of the time, grants are just for 1 year, but we may see what we call a multi-year grant. Particularly, we might see it up here with startup or seed money, where a group thinks, oh, this would be a great organization, this would be a great event to have in this community. They're just starting, so we're going to give them a multi-year grant. For year one, we're going to give them $3,000 to help with their programming. Year two, we're going to give them $2,000, and year three, we're going to give them $1,000, and then year four, they get nothing. Okay? It's a 3-year multi-year, or they could set up 5 years, 6 years, 2 years. But the idea is we're going to give more money up front, and each consecutive year we're going to wean the organization away from that support so they're functioning on their own. Actually, when the when the George Lindsay UNA Film Festival first started, back when I was a part of the communications department, actually began when I first got here in 1996. We actually, I don't know if it was 1996 or 97, that the department, as a department, we ran the film festival, and we actually got a startup seed money grant from the state. I thought this was a great idea. George was able to go down and talk to them about it all, about what it would do for the film industry in the state, etc., and particularly the northern region of the state, and they're like, yes, we will give you a multi-year. And so every year it was a little bit less and a little bit less until the 4th year we were supposed to be on our own and be able to pay for ourselves. Okay? So that is what we mean by multi-year. Now, getting grants. How do I do that? Well, first and foremost, I've got to research. I've got to research. There's no way around it. Okay? I've got to go out and I've got to see who is giving money, who its members are, what its purposes are, what's the grant-giving organization's mission statement, and I want to see the kinds of people that they are giving money to. So I know, do I have a chance at this? Well, other theater groups have gotten from this foundation, so maybe I can too. Okay? But if I'm going to look at a foundation and I'm not seeing any kind of theater supported or any kind of film or any arts, maybe it's going only to hospitals or it's going to research, medical research or something, then I'm probably not going to get a grant from them. Okay, they seem to have a very clear interest about who they want to serve, who they want to give the grant money to. All right, so you've got to do your research. So how do I go about doing that? Well, as you guys know, nowadays the internet is a great source for that, but it's not the only source. Okay, so even once we find out perhaps on the internet who is giving money, we need to find out who they're giving money to. Now, if it's not online, and most days it is, you can actually go to the corporation or the business or the foundation, and you can ask to look at things. They have to keep a public record of their foundations, or it's not up there anymore, of the foundation money that's given out or the government money that is given out. That has to be available to the public. Okay? So you might find it online. If not, you can go directly to them and you can look at their reports. You can look at their directories. You can go look at foundation directories. We actually have a state council for the arts in Alabama that not only do they give out grant money, and you can look at their records, but they collect records from other entities in the state that are giving out money to the arts or the humanities. Okay, so there's a variety of places we can look, but it's not going to happen if you're just sitting there. Okay, you have to actively research. Nobody's just going to give you the money if you're just sitting there and saying, "I want money." And you've got to research. All right. Now, expectations. Okay, as we've talked before, usually an arts group needs to have a record of experience and security before it's going to be given a grant. All right? Before it's even considered for a grant. People want to know that this is a stable organization. I don't want to give money to some unknown kind of source out there. And I want to know something about them. I want to know that they're going to actually be able to use the money. They're going to use it in a very responsible way. All right? Again, we talked about most grants are only going to be for very special projects, very special expenses for production or programming. All right? Grants, as we said before, are monitored. And in fact, you are required to give them progress reports, and your money can be taken away. All right, with that in mind, let's say now you have applied for a grant, and you have remembered those three circles that we have: the fund giver, the grant giver, we have the community, and you are demonstrating very clearly how you are the step in the middle that's going to connect them. Okay? They will all tell you, grant givers will tell you, they expect transparency. They expect to see whatever you're writing about, that there's no tricks, that it's all just very clear, very accessible writing, that when they come away from reading, they know exactly what you're going to use their money for. All right? Now, some other advice the grant givers like you to know. Persistence is good in moderation. You may not get a grant the first time you apply for it. That's okay. Don't take it personal. It is not personal. It is not personal. So don't get all upset about it and call them and be an idiot and cause problems. Okay? Apply again. Apply again. Okay? But don't keep applying for the same thing that year after year after year they deny, because clearly there's something wrong with your grant. Okay? Which leads me to the next thing. Don't be afraid to ask questions of the grant giver beforehand. Okay? If you have questions about the application, talk to them. They want you to call them and to ask them questions if you don't understand what they're looking for. I'd much rather read something that is well thought, well put together because you called and you asked questions than read something where you were just guessing and you're not giving me what I need to know. All right? Also, don't be afraid to ask for feedback on a denied grant. Now, don't go in and just be like, "Huh, why didn't you give me money?" You need to phrase it about, how can I improve my grant request for the future, for future projects? Okay? And then they can look through and they can talk with you. Well, here's what we saw. Here's what we didn't see. Here's what was very clear to us. Here's what was very confusing to us. Okay? They'll be glad to give you feedback if you approach it in a very nice, constructive way with them. Okay? Again, you have to plan at least 12 months ahead of time for grants. Okay? We would be applying right now for a grant that we might receive in about a year for something going on a year or more in advance. All right? Part of this also means avoid unclear jargon. Jargon, J-A-R-G-O-N. Jargon is business or craft-specific words. Okay? So every type of business has its own words that are unique to it. But not everybody is a part of that business. So don't go around using silly abbreviations or terms in theater that other people might not know. Well, we're gonna raise some money so the SM can can take care of strike materials and blah, blah, blah. They may not know what strike means. They don't know what SM is short for. They don't know what that means. So write out stage manager. Explain what strike means. Explain your terminology. Don't just expect people to know the terminology, the vocabulary that your industry uses among its own people. Okay? That's also part of that transparency. Okay? Don't take a denial as a message of hate. Sometimes you've got to establish yourself again as real. They need to see you. That's why sometimes it's good to call and ask the questions about the grant so they know you're a real person. They hear you, or if you have the opportunity to stop into their office, that they see you're a real person. Okay? Goes a long, long way than just somebody sending something and saying, I want money. I can guarantee you when it comes to scholarships, giving out scholarships, it means more to us for new students that they come in, they have to audition and interview rather than just somebody saying, hey, I'm really good and I want a scholarship. We don't know those people, okay? And it's the same thing with grants. They want to have the opportunity, or it's best for you to give them the opportunity to hear you, to see you. All right? And again, finally, I'm just going to repeat it again. Your proposal should be transparent. The grant giver can see very clearly what the project is or the program that you are asking money for, and very clearly how that is going to serve your community. It is not about serving you, it is about serving your community, which you set up in that mission statement. Back to the mission statements again. All right, and that's what we're going to talk about with grants.